Then the CO files, which changes and sources.
So is everything on the stick also the runtime file?
Should be. Not for all Unix files.
It's Linux, so it should be.
Yeah. And please make sure that you pass around.
Hi. I'm trying to get some statistics on the room occupation. How has the occupation been so far?
Great. We only had lunch that were really cold.
Okay.
That was and the first one was around it was not remember on Sunday. It's like early. And that happens. So
People are always late, mate. No one's ever.
I use it further on we this room is fine, especially in the totally fine. We have even now where so we are okay.
Glad to hear that.
We only have the same notes, so we're going to get appreciated. Oh, okay. You could probably yeah, right.
This film, American comedy film about the office in the city, and there's a guy that works in a coffee shop, and they have the certificates on their bodies.
Okay, so I hope that you have this full tutorial. There are 3 different VMs in there, one for each kind of machine. You only need one of those normally. And then you need the mood which changes file sources. And please pass around the memory sticks. Well, if we miss this, it's not this is something to work along with, so please pair up with someone with computer. Alright. Are you sure? Oh yes. And we prefer people pairing, so if you would say so you can join with someone, it makes it much easier. So, may I see hands who has not the environment? Not yet. We don't have the stick yet. Yes, that's the problem. I understand. That's why I asked. And the sticks are there. Coming?
Do you know, sorry, if there is any cover plugs anywhere? Because I got that 3 hours of tutorial with...
There are some places with power plugs. I, for instance, have one there.
Okay. How about we have still okay with 50% damage?
Yeah, and there And the sides are power plugs, but you need a long cable for that. Can we put more light? I guess so. If you just came in, this is a workshop where you can program, so please take your computer or join up with someone with a computer.
Do you want us to install stuff or you will?
Yes, I want you to have on your disk one of those VMs, the one fitting into your room, and the stilo files. Moose changes, moose image, and file sources. Moose is a framework on top of Faro. Faro is the Smalltalk, and Moose is the visualization and software analysis framework. Make nice pictures. Yeah, the introspection is already in Smalltalk already, but having nice pictures is much easier with. And then we hope that you are able to start this by dragging the moose image on the VM. That's the way I do it on my Mac. So let me show how that works. That's what helps me do it. Other platforms may have more difficult ways of starting.
Can we do it once again? Just drag and drop the...
On a Mac, I just dropped the image on the virtual machine. Of course, if you have a new Mac OS machine, then you have to tell it that it is allowed to run applications which are not signed, which is something you can do in the settings. And otherwise, it works from something you downloaded. Does everyone have the stick yet? May I see hands for who has a running image? Running image? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I see. No, I see.
Okay, who's having columns? Everyone till about the point, well, not with the window open, but at least have a window open. I guess this one.
Yeah, you can see this.
Well, there's a key. If you put the cable in there, yes, you can. And put it a bit.
I have a very old level.
Really?
Your stick?
Who has more sticks?
I had problem with
So the basic idea is that Smalltalk, for people who already know how to program, somehow looks like an old-fashioned or strange environment, but it has windows, has text, so it should be usable for people used to make clips or those kind of environments, Visual Studio. The problem with Smalltalk is that it's much older than those systems. It was developed before the Macintosh was there, and there are a number of things that Macintosh introduced that made things simpler to use, which are simply not in Smalltalk systems. The discoverability of things is on Mac or later Windows. There was some very clear pressure to make sure that everything should be easy to find. At that moment, Smalltalkers were already using those systems for a long time, and so they did not feel that need. And so there are some things which you will find here strange, and we'll help you get through those. Good. So, I have some. Do we all have the image started now? Everybody?
And we just need to have the workspace, not this screen.
No, you don't have the workspace. Yes. Everybody? So if everybody got this started, then please try to use the left mouse and try to see if we can get to the settings. In appearance, we have use free type. We want that off and on again, because this system is configured so it does not read all the fonts from the system. And if we click it out and on, it will reread all the fonts. That helps us with this presentation. If you put the cursor on the FO tutorial open presentation, did it work? Free type setting on and off? Yeah. Off and on again. Then if you do a right click and do a do it, then we are supposed to get this display. You only have the rule without the presentation because you don't have to show it on a large screen. Everybody got it up? Who has not? Thank you. Okay, anyone? We are all there? Good. That's okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, Smalltalk is a very, very simple language. The parser for the language is about 10 times smaller than that for Java or something like that. We have only 6 keywords: self, super, this, context, true, false and nil. Everything is an object. And we have a very powerful environment. Let's take a look. Left mouse and we create a new workspace. Just follow along. 3+4 workspace, yeah. I can do right mouse click and do print it, but I can also do on my Mac Command P. On Windows it might be Control P or Alt P. Please take a look. Yeah. In a workspace, by default, if you put a cursor on a line, that line is going to be executed, inspected. You can take a look. Command I, inspect. I'm taking a look at what the result is. This is a small integer with value 7. And with lots of different methods available to run on it.
Is there a way to do it without mouse? Is there a way to do it without mouse? Command P.
Command P, yes.
Command P.
Yeah, if you take a look at the menu, then you see that it has letters behind it. And that's supposed to be the command. With the Mac it's command, on Windows it's control, could be alt. Could be alt, depending on your keyboard setting. Yeah, shortcut? Yeah. So this might not be as you expected. If we take a look what 3+4 times 2 is, then we see that we have left to right evaluation. And if you want a difference, then you should use parent. what do we have anymore? We have a test runner, which shows us all the tests in the system. Yeah. I can select the bottom one and can say, well, run with those. Running all tests in the system takes a lot of time.
Are there some things to add in Windows, like in the cloud, for something? Can I like somehow tell it to manage the Windows work?
Not in this system. There are packages to do that, but I have not included them. Yeah. And there has been interesting work in Squeak on making that automatic.
Yeah.
That's, so, one of the things we find interesting in Smalltalk is test-driven development. What I can do, don't do that with me, is make a new test case. How do I make a class here? Well, everywhere where I have text, I can do things. So, if I say that I want a subclass of test case, and I tell it save, or accept, Command S, then I've created a class. There is no, or there used to be no menu entry to create a class. In a Smalltalk, you normally open a browser. This is a browser. And you type over something and you make with that a new class. If I want it to be not an AA, but it is somewhere else, then I could say there is some. Then I could move it there. So that's what we see here is the packages of classes, the classes, the category of methods, and the methods of a class. So there are quite a few classes that have lots of methods, and then it makes sense to categorize them, have accessors separate from behavioral things. A bad example of that is object. Object. And then I can say Command B for browse. Then I get a new browser. And we see that we have way too many categories of methods. Even so many that it gets slow. Really slow. Do you know how many methods object has?
Oh, let's find out.
Yeah. Method dict?
Oh, well, I think you can say all selectors.
Oh, that's like this nice, yes.
And then select. No, it's only 3 digits.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's the reason why we are cleaning up Squeak and Enviro. This is a lot. Yours works? No.
How can we get to this magical window? Here?
Which magical window?
This tracing.
This one? What I did, I just said I want some class, and then I said Where is my... Oh, shit.
System browser.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So... In Smalltalk, we invented test-driven development, and we do that a bit different there. We assert something. This tells me that this method cubed does not exist in the system. There, that is why it's red. Doesn't need type information for that. I need to enter my name. And then I say, well, I expect it to be cubed. And then I can run this test. And then it tells me, message not understood, small integer cubed. 3 is a small integer, cubed is a message which I don't understand. Well, where was that? That was in test cubing. It said, there, I don't understand it. Well, then we go back there and then we can say, oh, well, perhaps I want to create that. And where would I want to create that? Small integer is in a hierarchy, inherits from integer and that is from number. I think I want that in number. And I don't want to classify that. And then, well, I could say something like return. This is a symbol for returning a value. If you don't return anything special, then you will return the object itself. Self times self times self. Accept. Well, and continue. Oh, let's continue. Yep. Oh, I should have restarted that computation probably, but oh. Cute is 9. Anyone know why this does fail?
A one-time self was to my toilet 9. So
My?
if you calculation position.
Practice our pre-cube is 27, not 9.
Oh. Thank you. That might help. Yeah. So, what we see is that we can have a very short feedback loop from having writing the red test to creating the code and just implementing what we need in the debugger and continue running in the debugger. If I had restarted to the right point, I could even have gotten to a green test result in one time. Mostly I don't do that, mostly I just let it go and then restart the test. But you can keep on going in the debugger, changing code in the debugger, creating methods, creating classes. We're going to do that. So.
Pardon? Where can I see cube?
What?
Where can I see the cube that you defined? Where is it defined?
Well, if you don't know, then you ask someone cubed. That was the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question mark?
We select it. And then we ask, do we have any implementers of it? Also Command M. that's the one where we use the keyboard shortcuts a lot. And then it tells me that in the numbers package, in the number class, in as yet unclassified, I have defined a method cubed. The other way around, who is sending this tells me, well, this test cubing is sending this. If I only get one result back, I directly get a browser. If I select something which has more senders, or implementers, then I get a list. We have 150 implementers of open, and I can browse them. And if I want a browser on the class itself, I can click browse and then get to the place. So Smalltalk systems have lots of different browsers and inspectors and tools to look at code. It's class side. This is the flat view. I can also look at the hierarchy. So then I have the inheritance lookup. So. So that was everything is an object, very powerful environment, and we have a very simple language, but a very large library. And the different dialects of Smalltalk have different libraries. There is ANSI standard, which defines the basic stuff, but stuff on top is different. And on top of Faro, I then loaded software for software and data analysis. And we can show that if we take a look here at the FO browser. And if we do it and open. We have a few ways of looking at the code. Oh. That's a bug. So what we see here is that for one of the packages, forum, I made some pictures of the classes which are in there. So if we take a look where we find this FO browser, Command B, browse it.
Doesn't do it.
Hmm?
I can't open your browser. Doesn't open.
Which part doesn't work? If you select the line, can't you open the browser or can't you open the... What I did here was select and do... So this is a class browser. It shows me that in announcements I have 4 classes, in application I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 2 in browser, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in model, and a few in tests. And if I then take a look, then you can see that we have the 5 packages here. And that it thinks that one of... Oops, no, that's... It shows inheritance with the lines, and it shows something about the size of each class in the size of the rectangle. I guess the number of lines of code is the vertical axis, and the number of methods is the horizontal axis, and the color is the number of lines of code.
Again, this is also connected to this
What's the
workspace, this code browser.
If you take a look at this, you got this.
Yeah.
You can also begin by saying, well, how's that? And you see
Smalltalk. I don't know.
So it's different ways of looking at the code. Yeah. If you take a look at this browser, then you can see that this complexity 2, which we're looking at, is for Smalltalk too large method. This browser is designed to be optimal for methods of length, of code length about 10 lines, and by designing it that way, it is easier for people to make short methods, because long methods are annoying to look at. And well, what you can see that we are doing here is I'm collecting the packages. My package organizer, the default one, I ask for its packages, and I select from them. The select gets a block, and that gets passed in all the packages. The P is package P, and I ask the P for its package name. I want to know if it begins with forum. And there, from that one, I want the packages. Then I make a set of classes, and all packages.
The first, what is the first one? It takes the first package out of the packages.
Well, if we just take a look. Oh. No, but that's. Sorry. Explore it. This is one R package. With name forum. And with classes, those 31.1. This is not a really good example because this is code that is partially deprecated, so we have some strange things going on here. Well, but the basic thing is that if I inspect this, then I get a list of all the packages, and if I select one of those, I can ask them for their classes. And if I have collected those classes, I can make a view with rectangle shapes. And in those view I get nodes. the packages. So those 5 packages I get in there, and for each of them I put a new shape rectangle with the width based on the number of instance variables of the class and a height based on the number of methods, and the fill color based on a normalization of the number of lines of code. So the lowest is going to be green and the highest is going to be red. And then I put them in a tree layout and tell me that I want a connection, a line from the superclass of the package of the class to itself, and the whole gets in a grid layout.
What does the view do?
The view is the thing that shows this, the canvas. Yeah. Yeah. I think the other ones are easier. No. Okay. So where we are going to work with today is this forum package. This forum has questions and answers, and if you take a look at a web browser and go to port 8181, then you can browse the applications installed on your image. Yes. And we're going to take a look at Agile Overflow. So basically in this Moose image we have a web engine running which runs on port 8181, which runs Seaside and which runs this program application. Works on the Safari browser, yes. Yeah. There you can enter a name.
You create a new component or?
No, you don't have to do anything. You just go to, you do browse.
Okay.
Use that as your default, yes. And then you go to Agile Overflow. Okay, does everybody have the web browser open? Does that work? Because there can be firewall problems.
Sorry, you take browser? No, sorry, those okay. Just like with localhost one. Does it work? Yeah, but there's browse on the right side.
Yeah?
Okay.
What's the password?
Oh, you just register. I don't think there are any users in there. Yeah. Yeah. And then you should ask some questions. So just put some data in there.
Does it have database on the background or?
Smalltalk systems are generally image-based, and an image is basically a document of all the objects you are currently working with. So if you don't want to lose what you are doing here today, then please save the image when you want to quit the image.
How can I scale it? How can I scale it?
There are different ways. You can run this application on multiple VMs. You can run it on Gemstone, which is basically a persistent image, which scales to, I think they have systems where they have 90 million transactions an hour or so. So the scaling is not really the problem. If you have money to scale to that size, then you can scale to that size. In Faro, this image is a 32-bit image and 4 gigabytes here. But you can have persistence options if you want to, but you don't need it for this. You may notice that there is no way to log out here. We are working with a brownfield environment where there is code, but it's not all working, and there is functionality missing, like a typical development project. So what we are going to do is take a look at the exercises. This I forgot. C-Site is the library we use for web applications. Nice DSL widgets, support for the several JavaScript libraries. And we are now getting to this. Yeah. So this first exercise we are going to do together, and then there will be exercises for you to do on your own. So on the place where 5073 is shown, the number of points we have in this system, we want to have a button allowing us to log out when logged in. So we need to find the place. Well, in this case, we can say this text. Sorry. Where is it? So. Extended search. Method strings with it. And then we see, yeah? Now, the thing about using Smalltalk is that you have to navigate around your code a lot, and it's an object-oriented system, so behavior is distributed over lots of different objects, so you have to find the right objects to make your changes. And we are going to show you lots of different ways of finding finding your code. And this exercise shows a few of them. So you see that this text I could find, and it's in 5 places. So browsing through 5 places, that's okay, that works. Then I can find the code. Yeah. Oh, so I did in the. But every place where I can type text, I can select, type that, select it, do the right mouse click, do the extended search, and say I want the method strings with it. Command Shift E. And then I get these results. And that's, well, basically I assume that this Stefan is dependent on my having typed Stefan as a name, so I don't know how to find that. I could have taken a look at chat and maybe find if that's close by. Huh? Chat. No. String with single quotes. Let's find do I need the quotes for that? Perhaps not. Well, no, this is the one which is showing those things. And then I could, of course, say, well, I want to browse this because this does not show this really the place where the login is happening. And then I see that I get a place with lots of rendering. And I see here render top user on. So that might be the space. And that is actually the place where it is. So, what do we have for hints here? We found that. Well, then of course we can say, well, I want something like that.
Not enough instructions, sorry.
Not enough instructions?
We just getting stuck.
Stuck at what point?
We can't follow.
Okay. You have the workspace open?
Yeah.
Yes. You have the text, 5.73.
Yeah, we found 5 options.
Then you can browse them. You have 5 options? Okay, yes, but this is the exercise. The exercise also has text in it, so that's probably not the interesting one. So you probably should find another one. You take a look, you can look here which one. This also doesn't look like an interesting one because it looks like this probably this one. Yeah, it's the navigation is about limiting the amount of code you have to do in here. And 5 often is enough. The normal class So when I started learning Smalltalk, this was really the difficult part. This thing about classes and methods and strange order of arguments, that's easy. Getting used to using all those different kinds of inspectors and browsing and findings, references, method, that's where I needed someone to show me that. Philippe showed me the use of senders and implementers after I had been doing Smalltalk for 2 years without knowing that is useful functionality to use. It's essential information. The senders and implementers. I use it every hour now, all the time. I didn't know that because I use it like I was used to a Delphi or a Visual Studio or an Eclipse. And current Eclipse has samplers and implementers, but at that time it was not easy to use like it. So what we see here happening, if we take a look, this is a part of Seaside. Seaside has a domain-specific language, a canvas object which has methods which help us create HTML. So this canvas space is going to be translated to an HTML space, non-breaking space. And this text, well, let's see if it changes if I do a reload. And now I see that, of course, I am logged out because I waited too long. Then I need to log in again. And then we see that that is the right place where we are going to make the change.
As soon as you change the text, it will appear. You don't need to save it.
Sorry, I was too fast, of course. What I did is I saved the method.
Oh.
You can see the triangle there in orange.
Yeah.
If I then do Command S for save,
Yeah.
it's changed. If I then do a redraw here, I don't. Did I make a change? Oh no, I did not make a change. Yeah. Then with a redraw it will generate the HTML again for me. So this gives me a very fast feedback loop for creating web applications.
But where did the build all? How did the build all? I saved what I changed.
Yes.
What I should do after that?
Well, go to the browser, to the web browser, and refresh it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then of course you need to be logged in still. I think we have time out of 10 minutes or something like that.
Okay, maybe because
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So we are following the exercise. One of the other things we can do is not put a text there, but put a submit button there. Yeah. That's where we want log out to happen. Can I redraw that? Yes. So.
How do you style this button? Can you do like CSS around this button? Or?
Yes. Well, actually, the normal submit button is the plain HTML one, and of course you can style it with CSS. But I did it with Bootstrap, so we should use a slightly different one.
Okay.
And that is the TBS button and the B extra small.
Okay.
Did everyone have the button already?
Yeah. I do.
Yes.
Excuse me, does anyone have any way of moving the image into a very small card? The SD card? Yeah. Micro SD? Cool.
In Smalltalk, methods are compiled independently. So if I save it, it's compiled and works at the same time. If I have an error in there, it will just put some text in between. So. Then it tells me that there is something wrong with what I did. If I wanted to compile, I need to remove that. The language from the canvas was extended with Twitter Bootstrap specific commands, and so we have a Twitter Bootstrap button, and we want the extra small variant in this case. So it looks a bit more in the same style. It's more fun to work alone.
Can you show again how to create methods? As you showed.
Yes, creating methods. Ha! That's the same. That's the same thing as with creating. If I want to create a method.
There's something missing in the understanding.
Yeah. Well, mostly I just find the class where I want to do it. I find the method. Yeah.
So methods are on the very right side.
Yes, methods are on the very right. And this thing is categories of methods. So if I take a look at all, then you have quite a lot. And the accessors are this one. Actions.
The category, are they? Do I on myself can specify any category?
Yes, you can specify categories. There are predefined ones which you should reuse if they fit. Yeah.
So it's like meta information for the program, right? It doesn't have any like implementation.
It has no implementation consequences normally. Yeah. But we have a reflective system, so you can ask the system about all accessors or things which are not categorized. One of the things I showed here was uncategorized methods. So.
How do you create a new method again?
Oh, sorry. Let's make an uncategorized method here. In the browser, I'm going to do a method which is called blah.
Just write it down and then
I save it, so I have a method blah.
okay.
And what does it mean if there is an exclamation mark and not the class symbol in the class process?
Yes. Please comment me.
Okay.
So then that helps. That's the commands.
Okay.
And of course, we are now looking at the instance side of the class of a class. There might also be class side methods. So this open returns self new, which returns an instance of a browser. Tells that to create the browser and to open it on itself. So if I take here a look, then I have this browser. This browser returns some kind of GLM tabulator, which has an open on method somewhere. Browser, which has an open on method.
Can you just go to the beginning again?
Yes.
Get the loop complete.
I have a class side method, open. That means that I don't have to tell the class new to get an instance of that one. So in this workspace, I have FO browser, which is the class, and I can directly tell it open.
So it's like static method.
It's yes, like static. It's just not static, but yeah. It's a dynamic, but yeah, like a static method.
So I don't need an instance to
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
So it's like a class method.
It's like a class method. Yes. Yeah. And that was the thing I wanted to explain. Let's take a look. What we have this. Okay. Then. Then of course we want this logout button to do something. No. What? So please remove this method. Right mouse click.
What signifies the green arrow on the method initialize, for instance?
That means that we are implementing something which is defined up in the hierarchy.
And on the yellow one, on the category of method initialization, the yellow one...
That probably means that we should override something. That we have should be implemented somewhere. Please remove this method. That works better for the...
Should we remove the logout?
We should remove the logout, yes. Otherwise the exercise is going to be very boring.
Is refactoring somehow also in? Say change the name or I remove the method?
Yes, just take a look.
It's the first one actually.
This is only on methods. Then we have a few more.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yes, yellow if to remove the logout method. So it means that nobody, no class call this method. You succeed to remove the logout method. Does it mean that no other class and the method?
No, this is not removing all logouts. This is only moving this one. Yeah. Yeah?
Can I just comment out this? Like I don't want to remove the function, just comment out.
You could, but then the exercise doesn't work.
Okay.
We'll rebuild it.
Okay, it will find the method.
And
The method, but I'll remove it.
yes, please do. Then we go back and we have to log in again. And then log out. And then if we switch back to the image, we get the debugger. That's because I told this C-side application that I want a debugger for that. The default is that it just ignores it, which is more secure. But for development you want this debugger. So each mistake you have on the C-side, on the website, you get directly reflected in the image and you can just debug there and continue. So this tells me that it does not understand logout. That probably means that we need to create it. In the debugger, if we make it large enough, we get this plus symbol. Yeah. And there we can create logout. Just let the category be at the moment. There's a bug in there at the moment. And then the default implementation is itself should be implemented.
Here, I implement.
Then we say accept. And we continue. Then we see, well, should be implemented, then we better do something there. Well, for the moment we do nothing. And accept again. And run. Oh, that is a nice one.
Is now all your changes lost?
Not all changes are lost. We have a couple of changes. There I can go back to everything that I saved as a method can be recovered. So I could take a look. And fine. But there are at the moment not much interesting things which I want to have back in this image. But I could select the changes and file them in.
Yeah, I think.
What I probably should not have done is base this on the latest version of Faro 3.0, which is supposed to be released in March. I should have taken a more stable VM image. Yes. So. And then I need to... Yes?
What is the dot at the end of the line?
The dot is end of sentence.
But you don't always have it.
No, I only need it as a separator. Yes?
I just got a glance that they have what was called version. So I was going to ask
Yes.
anyway about versioning, and what you did there was something like spool back a few versions or something?
Yeah. For methods, I have only one version of this one in here. But if I make some changes, like I had this, I guess, I have a few different versions of that.
That's built in.
That's built in.
And is it concurrent? I mean, if more people work on that?
This is on this image only. We have a distributed version management system called Monticello, which is somewhat older than Git. It's not as powerful as Git, but it does a job. We have Metacello to do package management for that. And last week there was integration with Git, so we could use Monticello from the image and just use the GitHub repository for that. And then we basically put each method in a file, so that it might be slow if you have very large packages, but has very fine-grained version management, because the version management is often on the method level.
It's called Monticello?
Monticello, yes. You can see it here. we have the Monticello browser, which shows us all packages. And where you get them from.
Just without this multi-channel,
Yeah.
you're not able to do like a proper version control or.
Well, you would be able to, but this is the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
With Monticello, you just start making changes to your packages, and then you see the ones who have changed, and you find the place where you want to put them, a repository, and then you commit them, have a commit message.
I didn't check, but this image is a binary file?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what I did was remove this, make this logout sum, and try again. Then we have nothing happen. Well, then we need to think about what we need there, and we have login here, so we see there that there is something happening with a user. So, and it is asking it from self, so I can take a look at a hierarchy and see if user is defined somewhere. Not there, not there. Yes, here I have user, and that uses the session user. Well, perhaps I should take a look at all different implementers of user. And then take a look. Oh, here I find two different kinds of session. Well, this tells it this is a subclass responsibility, so this is an abstract one, so I probably won't need that. And then I here have another session, and that tells me, hey, if this user is nil, then something should happen, and otherwise we tell them that we are logged in. That suggests that if I tell the user to be nil, that the logout is going to work. So if I go back here and do self user nil, we can see if that works. With me it works. Yes?
I see that the common name is the setter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the class in general, it's like it's everything protected, and you should put the setters, keep the setter, or is everything open and...
The instance variables are normally only reachable from the class itself. Yeah. So you need an accessor if you want to, except if you use inheritance.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
Announce as a method, is it?
Yes.
And on self-announce, what did that do with announce?
It uses an announcements framework which tells interested parties that something happened. Okay. So you can subscribe that. Yeah. Yeah. There are in Smalltalks often quite a few different mechanisms for doing this kind of thing. There is model, and there is announcements, but modern style is to use announcements. Did that work?
Is it something like code completion?
Mike?
Can I get code completion?
Yes, should it be working? Might be slow. Yeah, so you have code completion, but as it is a dynamically typed system, it has to do some tricks to give you the right one. It tries to refer to things you already used recently, things which are in the same package. And yeah, make sure that your method names are specific enough. What a question.
There's any problem if two instances of your developing environment access the same image? There's a problem, like there's a log that you should like just one user access one.
You should not have the same image started twice because it will be writing both to the changes file and that's, no, don't do that. It might go alright for quite some time.
So user is a field of the class. User is a field of the class.
User is
in the method
a
level.
method.
In the method level, so you define. So user is new. You work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a field.
This is an assignment.
Yes, but user is a field of the class. What of the instance? Okay. So everything is method.
It's a method. Yeah.
Everything is
And
method.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you can see in the browser. So in the browser, I can see user.
Yes.
And find user in
Yes.
the browser.
You can find that. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's of course it's not defined here, but it's defined here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it delegates it to the session.
So why there is two? So there is user and user with two double dot. What is
This one returns the value, and this is the setter.
access?
So you have a getter and a setter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there is a notion of visibility of a method. Which is a method is always public, or there is a
Methods are always public. Yeah. And there are some conventions for making clear that you are not supposed to use
Underscore.
underscore kind, and you have a category private.
but it's only convention.
It's convention, and of course because we have this analysis toolkit here running, you can check it at runtime if people keep up with conventions. Yeah. So you, and that's much more powerful than just having the static compile time checks. You can do much more strong tests for something. Yeah.
The first release, the first release of some of Smalltalk was when they published the first release.
Smalltalk was standardized in 1980.
With the browser, already with the browser.
Yes, that was a version that looked quite similar to this. Yeah, it was not slow. It did not have so many colors, I think, but. And of course, at that time, it was really slow, even on really expensive hardware. But 30 years later, the time has come for Smalltalk.
What is the most important argument to use Smalltalk nowadays?
For me, the most important argument is that it allows you to work with a very short feedback cycle. So you can test many hypotheses in a working hour and see if it works or not. So the main productivity for me is this very short feedback loop, being able to write a test, implement it in the debugger, and go on. It's very intense, but it's very, very powerful. It allows me to make very much speed.
Do you use it for real production code, industrial?
Yes. I used to have a Gemstone web application running. I do refactorings, migrations, those kind of things. Where it's of course easier to sell Smalltalk because nobody cares about the tools you use for the migrations. The performance is not as good as though it's using C, but if you have a problem which is limited by engineering time and you have to build lots of software, not connect ready-made software together, then Smalltalk is the tool to use.
And which are the arguments that you use Smalltalk instead of Ruby, for example? Like the guys, would they give the same arguments?
No, they don't have the tools. The feedback loop in Ruby is not as good as in Smalltalk. On the other hand, there's support for using existing libraries. Yeah. So if you only have to connect libraries together, then Smalltalk is at the moment not the tool to use. If you have to write a lot of code, customer-specific domain logic, lots of that, and you are not really performance critical, then Smalltalk is the language which has the best.
And to deploy it in production, like a C-side application, like a web application running C-side, how do you do it? Like to run it like a...
Oh, you run multiple images.
Okay.
And then connect. Well, the easy thing is to just have an Oracle database behind it and connect lots of images to it.
Okay. As a front end, and you have like a web server, like Nginx or Apache.
Yes, we also have then an Nginx or something like that to deliver the static content, because they will do that much faster than the language environment.
What about integrating Smalltalk in graphical user interface? When Windows, for instance, when you have an application with Windows and user interface, graphical user interface, this is all text-based now.
Well, all text-based. We have this nice picture. We have interaction with that.
You can build a window with
you can. Yeah. It's not what I call pretty, but it works. So we have this drag and drop lists. Okay. Yeah. So, any more questions? We got through the first exercise.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do they code with YouTube work? How can I trigger it? Normally, I use control space or Eclipse or whatever.
It should be on, and if you wait while you're typing something, it should be on. I don't know.
No, the thing is, if you have an instance of a class, and you want to know which method it has, okay, you can go and say, okay, I'm expecting and I see the method. But then I always have this window or this new browser. I thought it must be possible to be behind an instance and say, okay, now give me, propose some methods for me that I could call. Or do I always have to start typing with any method? Because I don't have any clue what method I should call.
If you don't have any, then you should inspect it. Then you know. But if you start typing, it will.
So I don't get code complete without having typed any first character.
Not in the current system. If you have things where you have real objects already instantiated, you can do that.
Because like for example, for some baby
I'm trying to test
like
exercise and I get the yellow test.
You get a yellow test.
but
This test is finished.
If you finish this exercise, then you can continue with the next exercises. I'll walk around.
So I would like this complicated lines. Yeah,
Like now I got interested to see what is yeah, it's okay. I
so
just
but
use it.
there's so we're always
Okay, no, okay.
Not that enough. Okay. Not that enough. Yes.
I was just thinking that it's like, for example, sequences would be maybe easy because like without any Smalltalk knowledge, and the other one,
Yes.
now that I
It works like this. I ask people to present something, and you tell them that that I'm
okay, yeah, and
But that can be the other way around.
Yes.
I mean, I will find it interesting other but now that I know, or at least I know more or less, like I can understand whatever, at least the main part, so then I could like at least understand what is speaking the other one.
Yes, thank you for this feedback. We'll take it into account for next year.
What about the garbage collection?
Yes, it happened.
It's just happening from this side.
Lovely, you don't have to worry about it. You are programming on that?
No, I can't. I just write stuff. I don't have it with me at all.
Because there you could have earlier problems with the garbage collection.
Yeah.
Is that right? That should be.
Is that what the bank?
Yes, it is. And a keyboard. It could even be usable.
That's interesting. Can I find it on? No, I can I find it on the plate?
No, not the plane. No, I have to do something to it.
No, but another question I have about there's it's a monolithic thing, this image based work, and I think there's lots of code that is already delivered to me with libraries. I wouldn't say built in, but written in for me to be used. And how can I differentiate between my application-specific code and the one that's already been there? Is there a sort of a style guide or best practices how to structure your code or how to name it, something like that? Or is it doesn't it? Yeah. Is it in the philosophy that it just doesn't matter what's going on?
No. Configurations. Which tells which packages are supposed to be in one application and on which package you are depending.
The package that I'll use more or less naming conventions.
The naming conventions. So that's what you put.
Yeah.
Basic support.
Now you have some of more interfaces and then the namespace to deal with it. The other one is use prefixes. Like all the C-side stuff with no memory.
Okay, so I got it. And so what you did before implemented one cube method somewhere in pretty basic.
I'm not supposed to do that.
That's just okay. So just I get the idea that it isn't something
I can do that. I have to give an indicator which indicates that's part of my application. I can do that. I can give the name star forum, and then it would be in the package forum. So I can extend other packages, system packages with my own stuff.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay.
I can add variables, but I can So there are quite a few places where there are dictionaries of properties. So you can do just adding methods, extending more.
And is it usually without this one? Does it happen often?
It happens in places like it has it.
like conversion. For example, let's say you have some kind of object and you want to be able to convert every object in the image to like some kind of object. So you will put these
Also, okay, ich weiß nicht,
of course, collections have say you want to build it at the enterprise level and you want to ship it. Can you make a binary? Say, I give you this executable. How is it done?
Yeah. Well, what I can do is I can remove all the compiler and the stuff which are for the and then you can just put that one image, one window, which is the application.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, you can do that. But and currently you deploy that with VM and an image. But you could, of course, combine resources.
Then it's not possible for the customer to see the code and monitor it.
Yes, you can get that
Is there something like a deployment process in place where I can say like something like a build and say, okay,
there's an image window which is getting cut down, which I scripted and 5 megabytes, and that does no longer have so then you can just from you can use the spoon system to only load the existing
and is that something to make then run also faster? If I say I don't want to run the debug version, I want to optimize the version. Is something like that you do it?
Well, what we have is
always dynamic, right?
It's always dynamic. We have developed in VM and believe me, not like now we build on as a commercial VM, which is essentially so yes, it's basically just it's still and yeah,
I was always wondering how they have done whether they run such a VM and it top or how does they run their own factories?
So from the base or so
you could understand the message.
their issue is it's weird trying to then it's all custom what they do. Actually, there's not much libraries in them before.
If they can build the functionality faster and deploy it, they can spend time
I have this place in this or anything this one that you find on all the it's already jitted.
overwriting this
No, it's different. It's slower than the other. It's not
There's certain times,
yeah, sure.
What I thought,
Hey, when you talk about it, it's after the start,
the thing is that the tooling they have for is